All right, so get ready because today we are diving deep into some pretty wild concepts. We're talking about two things that seem totally different at first,
Hmm.
but stick with us because by the end, you'll see how they connect in some really unexpected ways.
Exactly. It's a fascinating intersection, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Jorge Luis Borges' The Garden of Forking Paths. It's a story about, well, uh, infinite timelines. And then we also got The Law of One. It lays out this whole complex system, a cosmology of spiritual evolution.
Yeah.
Imagine those two ideas kind of mashed together.
Right.
That's where we're headed today.
It
Yeah,
really is a fascinating intersection.
absolutely.
Borges gives us this literary labyrinth of endless possibilities where every decision, every little choice spawns a new reality. And then the law of one comes along and it's got this intricate system of densities, spiritual densities and cycles, almost like it's a roadmap for navigating those paths, those forking paths that Borges talks about.
Okay, I'm already feeling a little lost in the labyrinth. Just to keep us grounded, can you give us a really quick rundown on how Borges' story, how that sets the stage for all of this?
Absolutely. So the Garden of Forking Paths, it explores this idea that time, well, it's not linear, it's not just a straight line. Instead, it's more like this branching network of possibilities. Every single choice we make, it creates a split, a new path that leads to a totally different outcome. It's like, imagine a choose your own adventure book, but on this massive cosmic scale with like infinite endings.
So every decision, no matter how small, could create a whole new reality.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. But hold on, this whole idea of these branching timelines, doesn't that sound kind of similar to what some physicists are saying about the multiverse?
You're exactly right. It's a really fascinating parallel. I mean, Borges was writing fiction, right? But the concept that he's exploring, it resonates with certain interpretations of quantum mechanics, like the many worlds interpretation.
That's the one where every quantum measurement or decision, it splits off and creates a whole separate universe.
Okay, so we're not just talking about some, literary device here.
Mm.
This is a concept that might actually have some scientific backing, some scientific weight behind it. Pretty cool.
Sure.
Now, how does the law of one fit into all of this? Can you give us the Spark Notes version? What's the main idea?
So the law of one presents this grand vision, right? It's like
Yeah.
this unified consciousness, a single creator that's expressing itself through infinite creation. Think of it like the source code for everything that exists.
Mm.
And within this creation, there are these levels of spiritual evolution, and they're called densities. Each one represents a different stage of growth, and understanding.
Density, so like levels in a video game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy. You have to level up to progress.
Got it.
So, we humans here on Earth, we're currently in third density.
Oh.
And this one is all about mastering those lessons of love and finding a balance between our own individual will and the will of this creator.
Learning about love, huh? Sounds like we've got some work to do. But how do we actually level up to the next density? What's the process? Is it like getting a gold star for good behavior?
It's more about the evolution of our consciousness, like the journey of our souls. The law of one, it really emphasizes free will. Every single experience we have, every challenge we face, it acts as a catalyst, like it pushes us toward either a path of service to others or a path of service to self. It's like these two fundamental paths of evolution.
Okay, so we're all on this cosmic journey. We're making choices that are kind of nudging us towards one path or the other. But isn't one path inherently better than the other? I mean, service to others sounds pretty saintly, while service to self sounds kind of, selfish.
Right. That's a really common misconception. The law of one, it doesn't present either path as inherently good or bad. They're just different expressions of this creator, different ways of experiencing and evolving within creation. It's like, think of it like two sides of the same coin. They're both necessary to make a whole.
Okay, so there's no judgment from the universe on which path we choose. It's all about the journey of learning and growing. That's a pretty radical concept when you think about how most religions frame things. But if we're all in this third density, learning about love and all that, what about all the chaos and negativity that we see in the world? Does that fit into this whole picture?
Absolutely. So Earth, it's currently in this transition period. It's shifting from third density to fourth density. It's like, imagine a cosmic adolescence. It's a little messy. It's unpredictable.
Yeah.
And this shift it's creating a unique situation where beings from different densities are actually coexisting on the same planet. The Law of One even talks about these beings called wanderers.
Wanderers. Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. You're telling me there are beings walking among us who have actually come from higher densities? Like they're here on a mission or something? That's wild.
Exactly. These wanderers, they come from these higher densities to assist humanity in our evolution. They're like, like cosmic volunteers. They're choosing to incarnate here to help us navigate this crucial transition.
Wait, so there are people walking around who might actually be from another dimension. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But how do they even remember where they came from? Do they have superpowers or something?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. Wanderers they're subject to this thing called the veil of forgetting. And it essentially blocks their conscious memory of their origins, and their mission.
Right.
They come here and they have to figure things out just like the rest of us.
The veil of forgetting. So they basically get like amnesia when they incarnate.
Yeah.
But why? What's the point of that?
It's all about preserving free will. I mean, if you knew that you were a highly evolved being from another dimension, would your choices really be free? Would they?
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it levels the playing field. But it must be so challenging for these wanderers. I imagine feeling this sense of otherness, this longing for something you can't quite place.
Absolutely. It's a huge sacrifice that they make. They're choosing to come here and help us despite the challenges they face. They might even be more susceptible to negativity, and that's precisely because they're not used to the denser energies of third density.
Okay, so we've got this cosmic mix of beings all hanging out on Earth trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
And then we've got this whole harvest thing looming in the background. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. The harvest is this cyclical event that's described in the Law of One.
Okay.
Think of it like a cosmic graduation ceremony, Souls that have reached a certain level of spiritual development, and they graduate to the next density.
So pass the test, move on to the next level, fail, and you repeat the grade.
Kinda, yeah.
But how does all of this tie back to Borges' Garden of Forking Paths? We've got these branching timelines, these densities, this harvest. How does it all fit together?
That's the million-dollar question.
Okay.
And that's where we're headed next. What if each forking path in Borges' story represents a different outcome of the harvest? A world where more souls graduate to fourth density on one path, and a world of continued, third density struggles on another. The possibilities are endless.
Whoa. So our choices, both individually and collectively, they aren't just shaping our own lives. They're potentially creating countless branching realities, each one with its own version of the harvest.
Exactly.
Okay, my mind is officially doing backflips. This is getting deep, and we're just getting started. Let's unpack this forking harvest concept a little more. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and I am still trying to wrap my head around this whole forking harvest thing. It's a pretty crazy idea to think that our choices could be shaping, like, entire realities. Can you maybe unpack that a little more for us?
Yeah, sure. Imagine each density as like a layer in this giant multidimensional take, okay? So within each layer, you've got Borges forking paths. All these like infinite possibilities are playing out. Now, picture the harvest as this kind of cosmic sieve. It's sifting souls based on, their spiritual evolution at the end of a cycle. On one path, maybe more souls are ready to graduate to the next density, and that creates a world of, greater harmony and understanding. But on another path, maybe more souls choose that service to self route, and that leads to a world dominated by conflict and competition.
Whoa. So each density could manifest totally differently across these branching timelines. That's intense. It's like those sliding doors moments in movies, but like on a cosmic scale. But I thought there were 7 densities in the Law of One.
That's right.
Can you give us a quick rundown of what those look like?
Absolutely. So remember, we're currently in third density here on Earth. We're grappling with the duality of love and fear, service to others and service to self. Fourth density is often described as this plane of love and understanding where beings have a much greater awareness of, their interconnectedness. It's almost like graduating from kindergarten to elementary school, in terms of spiritual development.
Gotcha. So it's like a step up in terms of consciousness and compassion.
Exactly, yeah.
Are there actual physical places in fourth density? Or is it more of an energetic state?
That's a great question. And it really gets to the heart of how The law of one describes densities as, as different planes of existence. So while third density is very much rooted in the physical, the higher densities, they become increasingly ethereal. They transcend our usual limitations of space and time.
Okay, so it's not like we're like hopping on a spaceship and flying to planet fourth density.
Right.
It's more about like our consciousness evolving to perceive and experience those higher realms.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Imagine an ant, right, crawling on a piece of paper. It's only aware of its two-dimensional world. It doesn't know anything else.
Yeah.
But you, looking down from your three-dimensional perspective, you can see the whole picture, right?
Right.
Similarly, as we move into these higher densities, our perception expands and we become aware of dimensions and realities that were previously hidden from us.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to get the picture. So fourth density is like leveling up our awareness and our compassion. What about fifth density? What's going on there?
So fifth density is often described as the density of wisdom and light. It's where beings have mastered those lessons of love and compassion, and they dedicate themselves to seeking higher knowledge and understanding. Think of it like the realm of the wise sage or the enlightened teacher.
So they're like the cosmic professors.
Precisely. They've integrated the lessons of the lower densities, and they're now focused on illuminating the way for others.
And what about sixth density? Does it get even wilder?
Sixth density is where things get really, really interesting.
Okay.
It's the density of unity, where those polarities of service to others and service to self, they actually start to merge. It's like a cosmic homecoming, a return to a state of oneness with the creator. It's hard to describe with our limited third density understanding, but imagine a being that embodies both perfect compassion and perfect wisdom, fully integrated and aligned with the divine will.
Wow. That's pretty mind-blowing. So it's like the ultimate goal, like the end point of this whole spiritual journey.
Not necessarily an endpoint, but definitely a state of profound evolution. And beyond sixth density lies seventh, which is the density of completion. This is where individual consciousness merges back into the creator, kind of like a drop returning to the ocean.
Okay, now my brain is starting to hurt.
Yeah.
If we're all ultimately part of this one creator, why even bother with all these densities and cycles in the first place? Why not? Why not just stay merged in that blissful unity?
That's the big mystery, isn't it? The law of one suggests that the creator chose to experience itself through infinite diversity, like
Right.
to explore all the facets of its being.
So it's like the creator is going on a cosmic adventure,
Mhm.
splitting itself into countless individual expressions to experience all the possibilities
Yeah.
of creation, and we're all part of that grand experiment.
That's the beauty of it. We are all unique expressions of the creator. Each of us with our own path to walk, our own lessons to learn, and our own contributions to make to the cosmic tapestry.
Okay, yeah. I'm starting to see how these densities fit into the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But what about the idea of cycles? You mentioned these 75,000 year cycles earlier. What's the deal with that?
So these cycles are like cosmic seasons. They're periods of growth and transformation for both individual souls and entire planetary systems. The law of one suggests that Earth is currently it's nearing the end of one of these 75,000 year cycles. And this is a time of heightened catalyst, like accelerated spiritual evolution.
So we're living in a particularly uh, intense time, cosmically speaking.
You could say that, yeah.
No wonder the world feels so chaotic.
Yeah.
But what happens at the end of a cycle? Is it like hitting the reset button on the universe?
Not exactly. It's more like a graduation ceremony.
Okay.
It's a time of harvest where souls who have reached a certain level of spiritual, maturity, they move on to that next density. But for those who aren't quite ready, they continue their journey in the appropriate density. There's no judgment, there's no punishment.
hmm
It's simply a matter of vibrational alignment.
So we're all on our own individual timelines, evolving at our own pace. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's all
Exactly.
part of the process. This whole concept of cycles and reincarnation, it makes you wonder, What if we could remember all of our past lives? Wouldn't that make this whole journey a lot easier?
That's where the veil of forgetting comes in again. Remember, it's all about preserving the integrity of free will. Imagine being born with the weight of all your past lives, all the mistakes and the regrets. It wouldn't exactly be a fresh start, would it?
No, no, it wouldn't. That's a really interesting point. The veil allows us to experience each lifetime with new eyes,
Right.
to make choices unburdened by all the baggage of the past. It's like a cosmic clean slate.
Exactly.
But even though we don't consciously remember, those experiences are still woven into the fabric of our souls, right?
Absolutely. They shape our tendencies, they influence our choices,
Yeah.
and sometimes they even surface in our dreams or our intuitions. It's like those moments of deja vu, that strange feeling of having been here before. Those could be whispers from our past selves trying to communicate across that veil.
Wow, this is getting deep. Past lives, future selves, branching realities. Uh, it's a lot to wrap our heads around. But let's bring it back to this idea of service for a second.
Okay.
The law of one, it places a lot of emphasis on both service to others and service to self. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Sure. Service is it's seen as this fundamental driving force of spiritual evolution. It's through our actions, our choices, and our interactions with others that we learn and grow. It's not about, sitting on a mountaintop meditating. It's
Right.
about it's about how we engage with the world, how we treat each other, how we contribute to the tapestry of creation.
Okay, so it's about action. It's about like putting those good vibes into practice.
Exactly. So service to others is about extending, extending love, compassion, and understanding to all beings, recognizing our interconnectedness
Yeah.
and acting in ways that benefit the whole. It's not necessarily about sacrificing our own needs, but it's about finding that balance between self-care and care for others.
Got it. It's about finding that sweet spot between selfishness and selflessness,
Right.
like acting in ways that benefit both ourselves and those around us.
Exactly.
But what about service to self? I'm still struggling with how that could be seen as a positive path.
Yeah. It's important to remember that the law of one, it doesn't judge either path as inherently good or bad. They're
Right.
they're just different expressions of the creator, different ways of experiencing and evolving. Service to self it's about focusing on the self, seeking power and control, often at the expense of others.
So it's like the every man for himself approach.
In a simplified sense, yes.
Hmm.
But remember, there are shades of gray within each polarity. Someone on the service to self path, they might still perform acts of kindness or generosity, but their underlying motivation would be self-serving.
So it all comes down to intention. The same action could be service to others or service to self, depending on the motivation behind it.
Precisely. It's the underlying intention that determines the polarity of an action. And the fascinating thing is that even actions that seem purely selfish, they can ultimately serve the creator's experience,
Yeah.
by providing contrast and catalyst for growth.
Okay. My brain is officially twisted into a pretzel.
Yeah.
I thought I had a handle on good and bad, right
Yeah.
and wrong, but now it seems like it's all relative.
That's the beauty of exploring these concepts. It challenges our assumptions. It pushes us to move beyond those simplistic dualities and embrace the complexity of creation.
Mm.
And remember, within that complexity lies the freedom to choose our path, to create our own meaning, and to contribute to the unfolding story of the universe.
Well said. This is definitely shaking up my worldview. But let's bring it back to Earth for a moment.
Okay.
We talked about the Earth transitioning to fourth density. What does that actually mean for us humans? Like what can we expect to see?
Well, the transition to fourth density is a gradual process, not a sudden event. It involves a raising of consciousness, both individually and collectively, as the Earth's vibrational frequency increases. Those who are aligned with love, with compassion, with unity, they'll find it easier to adapt and to thrive.
So it's like the planet's getting a spiritual upgrade, and those who are
Mhm.
those who are ready will ascend with it.
That's one way to look at it. But it's important to remember that this transition isn't about physically escaping Earth.
Mhm.
It's about an inner transformation, a shift in consciousness that will ultimately manifest in the outer world.
Okay, so it's not about leaving Earth behind. It's about raising the vibration of the planet itself.
Right.
But what about those who aren't ready for this shift? What happens to them?
They'll continue their journey in the appropriate density. Reincarnation allows for a continual process of growth and evolution. There's no judgment, there's no punishment. It's simply a matter of vibrational alignment, like attracts like. So those who resonate with the frequencies of third density will naturally gravitate towards those experiences.
Got it. So we're all on our own individual paths,
Right.
and the universe will sort us out accordingly. No pressure. But if this transition is already underway, what kind of changes can we expect to see in the world?
As the Earth's vibrational frequency increases, we might see an increase in psychic phenomena, a heightened awareness of interconnectedness, and a greater emphasis on love, on compassion, on unity.
So more telepathy, more empathy, more people hugging trees. Okay.
Perhaps. But it's not just about mystical experiences or outward displays of affection. It's about a fundamental shift in consciousness, a recognition of our inherent oneness with all of creation.
Okay, I see the distinction. It's about an inner transformation that will naturally manifest in the outer world.
Exactly.
But this transition sounds pretty intense. Are there any challenges or potential pitfalls we should be aware of?
Well, as the Earth vibrational frequency increases,
Mm.
those who are aligned with fear, with separation, with negativity, they might experience a sense of dissonance, or discomfort. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
So like a cosmic hangover. The higher vibrations might be a bit too much for those who are still clinging to the old ways.
That's a good analogy, but again, it's important to remember that there's no judgment, there's no punishment. It's simply a matter of vibrational alignment.
Hmm.
Those who are not ready for the shift, they'll naturally gravitate towards experiences that are more aligned with their current level of consciousness.
Okay. So it's like a cosmic sorting process,
Yeah,
like attracts like.
exactly.
But what about the idea of the harvest being this grand event, this graduation ceremony at the end of a cycle?
Mm.
If the transition is gradual, does that mean the harvest is more of a symbolic concept?
That's a great question. The law of one suggests that the harvest is not, it's not a single event. It's
Hmm.
it's rather an ongoing process occurring on both individual and collective levels. As souls reach a certain level of spiritual maturity, they naturally transition to the next density. It's like a rolling admission process. Souls
Hmm.
are souls are constantly graduating as they become ready.
So it's not a one-time event. It's
Yeah.
it's happening all the time.
Exactly. And this brings us back to Borges's Garden of Forking Paths. Imagine each forking path representing a different potential outcome of the harvest, a different timeline where the collective consciousness of humanity has made certain choices. On one path, maybe a critical mass of souls has chosen service to others, and that creates a world of peace and harmony. But on another path, maybe the dominant energy is service to self, and that leads to a world of conflict and division.
Whoa. So it's not just individual souls that are being harvested. It's entire realities.
That's the mind-blowing implication. Our choices, both individually and collectively, are shaping not just our own destinies, but the destinies of countless potential worlds.
Okay, this is getting heavy. We're going to need a moment to process all of this.
Mm.
But don't go anywhere because we're just getting started. We'll be back in a flash to delve even deeper into these mind-bending concepts. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back. And wow, that forking harvest concept it's a lot to take in. Like it's kind of wild to think that our choices could be shaping like entire reality.
It really is mind-bending.
It is. But before we wrap up, there's one more thing from the Law of One that I wanted to touch on. It's these things called psychic greetings. What are those all about?
So psychic greetings are essentially they're energetic interactions between beings,
Hmm.
and they can be either positive or negative, and they often happen kind of beneath the surface of our awareness.
So like we're all sending out these vibes, and sometimes they kind of clash.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. The law of one suggests that our thoughts and our emotions and even our intentions, they create these energetic patterns that ripple outward.
Mhm.
And those patterns can affect others. It's like throwing a pebble into a pond.
Yeah.
The ripples, they spread out and they interact with other ripples.
Okay, so we're all energetically interconnected, whether we realize it or not. But what about those negative psychic greetings? Are we talking about like curses and hexes and that sort of thing?
Not necessarily. It's more about an energetic mismatch or dissonance.
Mhm.
Imagine two musical instruments playing different notes. They can either harmonize or create a clashing sound, right?
Right, right.
It's similar with our energies. If someone is projecting a lot of anger or fear, it can create a sense of unease or discomfort in those around them.
So like if I'm around someone who's super stressed out, their bad vibes could actually affect me, even if they're not directly doing anything to me.
Exactly. And the law of one suggests that we're particularly vulnerable to these negative psychic greetings when our own energy is low, or when we're going through a difficult time emotionally. It's like having a weakened immune system. You're more susceptible to catching whatever's going around.
That makes sense. It's like when you're already feeling down, and then someone comes along with all their negativity, and it just drags you down even
Yeah.
further. But what about positive psychic greetings? Are those a thing too?
Absolutely. Positive psychic readings can be incredibly, incredibly uplifting and inspiring. Have you ever been around someone who just radiates joy and peace? Their energy is contagious. It makes you feel good just being in their presence.
Yeah, yeah, totally. It's like they're like beaming good vibes straight into your soul. So being around positive people can actually boost our energy and our well-being.
Precisely. And the law of one suggests that we can consciously cultivate these positive psychic greetings by focusing our thoughts and our intentions on love, on compassion and unity. It's about choosing to be a source of light and upliftment rather than contributing to the negativity.
So it's not just about protecting ourselves from bad vibes, but about actively radiating good vibes out into the world.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing is that when we focus on radiating positive energy, it creates this positive feedback loop. And not only benefits others, but it also enhances our own sense of joy and well-being.
Okay, I love that. I'm gonna try to be more mindful of the energy that I'm putting out there. But let's connect this back to the idea of forking harvests for a second. If our choices are creating these countless branching realities, do these psychic greetings also have an impact across those different timelines?
That's a fascinating question. Imagine if every act of love, every positive thought, every compassionate gesture sent ripples of healing and upliftment, not just through this reality, but across the entire tapestry of creation.
Whoa. And conversely, every negative thought or action would be creating ripples of negativity across those timelines too.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? It makes you realize the potential impact of our thoughts and our emotions and our intentions, not just in our own lives, but in the
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things.
This whole conversation has been it's been absolutely mind-blowing. It's like our minds have been stretched to encompass the entire cosmos.
I know.
But I think we've reached the point where my brain might actually explode if we keep going.
I understand. It's a lot to absorb. But remember, this is just the beginning of the exploration. The law of one is a vast and complex body of work, and there's always more to discover and to contemplate.
Well said, well said. And when you combine it with Borch's idea of forking paths, it opens up this whole new dimension of possibilities and challenges. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think that the most important message is this. We are not just passive observers in this grand cosmic play. We are active participants. We are co-creators of our own reality and the reality of countless potential worlds. Every choice we make, every thought we think, every emotion we feel, it shapes the tapestry of creation.
Beautifully said. So as you go forth into your day, dear listeners, remember the power you hold within you. choose wisely, radiate love, and embrace the mystery and the wonder of this incredible journey we call life. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.